May 2nd, 2025. One of the big headlines: the Trump administration has proposed a record $1 trillion military budget. And I know they love to use the word defense, but that's Orwellian terminology. There's nothing defensive about our military. It's always on the offensive. It's always creating new excuses to invade foreign lands. It loves to bomb on brown people. But yeah, today officially the $1 trillion budget proposed, and pretty much everything getting slashed except for the military. Again, it's no secret that this nation is a military empire. All of its propaganda is targeted towards that, raising stupid people to essentially be mercenaries in the New World Order military force is a big part of that. And, it's never been more obvious because it's some of the biggest slashes to education ever, while the biggest increases to military. Again, you got dumb people, very few options in life. You can sign up and be a mercenary in the New World Order killing force, which is what the U.S. military has always been. In this country, it's not a sovereign nation. It's owned by international bankers. As they say, all wars are bankers' wars. And of course, Trump is owned by the bankers because they've bailed him out a gazillion times for all his failed business adventures. But yeah, we're going to see just how perfect this ritual is and why it comes today. Also, I found this headline hilarious on May 2nd. U.S. weather forecasting is more crippled than previously known as hurricane season nears. Here we are on 5/2, and this year 5/2 even has 52 date numerology, and you get this headline. Again, if you're new here, weather warfare and the number 52. Been educating about it for over a decade, been calling out the weather systems and destructive storms long before they even happen. I've already listed all the 52 dates for the year ahead. We did that a couple months back. This was one that we circled today. Oklahoma and Texas experiencing flooding on 5/2, and not by accident. This is your military at work. Again, weather warfare first admitted to in 52 and not by accident. And also in the news, the Trump administration guts 25 weather-related flood centers. And again, it's just... Again, if you're new here, we'll go over the 4 base ciphers yet again, but again, they're elementary. It's the alphabetic order, forwards and backwards with numerology applied. You can see the overlap with Flood, Earth, and Enlil. Enlil's the Babylonian god of flooding, and that's where this practice of coding numbers into words comes from, Babylon. But yeah, we'll cover that. Again, we'll recap what we did the video on this morning because hardly anyone watched that. Nobody gets a notification, and we'll recap this as well. All roads pointing in the same direction. But let's start right here. The $1 million, or did I say million? Not even close. A billion is $1 million 1,000 times. A trillion is a billion 1,000 times. So yeah, the first $1 trillion military budget. We do not use the word defense. Again, that's the Orwellian language. But as I've educated about 1,000 times, the Jesuits run puppet Trump. They run the federal government. The text Art of War, it's only known about because of the Jesuit priest Father Amia, and just wait until you see how well all this comes together. But today's 102 days after this administration took office. Art of War equates to 102. Don't forget, the U.S. simulated Al-Qaeda attacking the U.S. June 1st, 2001, 102 days before it happened. Trillions of dollars were spent on the war on terror, and all it did was breed more terrorism, more destruction in the world, cost a lot of people's lives. Again, they need perpetual war. They have perpetual excuses and seemingly endless ability to constantly increase the military's budget. But yeah, 102 days after the administration takes office, the official proposal's made. I'm aware that Trump talked about this at a rally a couple days ago, but the budget wasn't proposed until today, Friday, May 2nd. And notice the leader of the Jesuits, Arturo Sosa, today's the 172nd day of his age, and Merum de Gloriam, 172. Again, the Jesuit motto at Merum de Gloriam means for the greater glory of God. Today's also the 122nd day of the year. abbreviation in the Jesuit order's logo, IHS, stands for Jesus Hominum Salvator, which is 122, Jesus, Savior of Man. And again, Art of War. The reason people know about this text is because of the Jesuit priest, Father Amiot, who translated it, and that began its spread in popularity in the West. That was in 1773, just before this nation was created, and the Jesuits hijacked it shortly after. And there's a reason the capital was moved to the Jesuit stronghold, D.C. But check this out. Look at the death anniversary of Father Amiot, October 8th. From that day to today is 207 days. Look at his name. Jean-Joseph Marie Amiot, 207. We've talked about this before with Rituals with the Art of War. On the 207th day since his death anniversary, this proposal goes into place. And don't forget, the head of the military, Pete Hegseth, he was picked on November 12th, which was Arturo Sosa's birthday. That was the day that Trump picked him to head the Pentagon. And remember, Pentagon equals 38, like death, like murder, like killing, like RIP. Hegseth was officially the guy 38 days after the Pope's birthday. And then the Pope wrote his letter on the 38th day of the year about how his death was near. And then he spent 38 days in the hospital. And then he died by the numbers. Again, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, 111, dead on the 111th day of the year, buried 111 days before the Jesuit order's birthday. First Jesuit Pope. The article goes, the White House unveiled a budget blueprint Friday that would pump more money into defense and homeland security while taking an axe to programs the Trump administration has already targeted, including education, foreign aid, environment, health, and public assistance programs. The proposal outlines President Donald Trump's vision and provides recommendations to Congress for fiscal year 2026 spending, but lawmakers are not required to follow it. The blueprint released Friday is an outline, otherwise known as a skinny budget, with a more comprehensive plan expected to be released in coming weeks. The proposal follows Trump's priorities of beefing up the nation's defense and immigration enforcement capabilities. It would increase defense spending by 13%. 13, right? 13 colonies, 13 stripes, 13 years of slave school where you don't learn anything about anything, and most people are made into dumb, useful idiots, and then some of them join ROTC, and they're on their way to becoming New World Order mercenaries, where oftentimes by the time they're done being used and abused by the military, they're drug addicts, alcoholics, ready to off themselves, homeless, etc., etc. It would also provide a historic $175 billion investment to fully secure the border, according to an Office of Management and Budget letter sent to Senator Susan Collins, who chairs the Appropriations Committee, which was obtained by CNN. The administration is pushing to have these increases included in the budget reconciliation bill Congress is currently assembling, which would allow it to be approved without Democratic votes in the Senate. Democrats have typically objected to raising defense funding without corresponding increases to certain non-defense spending. The blueprint also calls for sweeping cuts to a multitude of discretionary programs that the Trump administration has been dismantling since it took office in January. It would slash $163 billion from non-defense discretionary spending, a nearly 23% reduction, bringing it down roughly $557 billion. Remember, 163 is the 38th prime. They do a lot of things with 38 on the 38th parallel in the nation's capital. 38 is not an arbitrary number. Kabbalah equals 38, as does English, as does Gematria, as does energy. Again, the whole practice of coding numbers into words comes from Kabbalah. It's Gematria. It is about manipulating people's energy. Again, this is just going to be more polarizing for the nation. And you know what? There's people at home today who've lost their jobs. I imagine there's a lot of healthcare workers who just had the same thing happen to them that happened at my wife's workplace yesterday. Again, where my wife works, a lot of the people there are on Medicaid and Medicare. Massive funding cut. Now, here in Washington State, the state said they're going to step in and cover a lot of the funding cuts. So that probably means state taxes will be increasing. And I doubt federal taxes will be decreasing. So, as always, taxes will be rising, probably from the federal and the state level. Not to mention the consumer level with all the taxes being put on goods through tariffs. Tariffs are a form of taxation. And remember, Joseph Smith, the father of, wait a minute. Excuse me, hold on. No, I'm confusing the Mormon guy. Adam Smith, the father of economics who wrote Wealth of Nations. Again, he wrote the book about how tariffs are destructive and can lead nations to go to war. Remember, Trump implemented his tariffs exactly 47 weeks after the anniversary of the publishing of Wealth of Nations, like Trump and tariffs equal 47. By the way, today's 47 weeks after Pete Hegseth's birthday that the budget gets introduced. They had to wait 47 weeks. Just how it all lines up so perfectly. Don't forget Vatican equals 47, where the Jesuits operate out of. But, yeah, I'm just saying there's probably a lot of people at home who just lost their job, and they're going, So my job got cut so that we could spend even more money on the military when we already spend way more on military than almost all the other leading nations in terms of military spending combined. We got bases all over the world when it's Team America World Police all over the world. The administration, and notice, oh yeah, Elon Musk he's Doge. They're getting rid of all the scam funding. Where's all the funding? The nearly $70 million a day for NASA, where a lot of it goes to Musk now. Where's those cuts? Again, what's the NASA program yielded us? Seriously, like what's it yielded? A moon landing in 69, supposedly. A moon landing by the numbers. On 20/7/207, the 201st day of the year. 2 huge numbers with the Jesuits. When all the top scientists came over in the Jesuit Nazi program. Like Werner von Braun. Remember, Werner von Braun's another 207. We just saw Musk do the SS salute on the 207th day of his age, and then Werner von Braun's wife died the same day. And that was the 201st day of the nation's age. Anyway, the administration protected transportation, homeland security, veterans affairs, and numerous other priorities. A senior administration official told reporters on Friday the proposal also preserves funding for Title I funding for schools with many low-income students, special education funding, as well as Pell Grants. But that means that other agencies and programs will bear the brunt of the cuts. This is a pretty historic effort to deal with bureaucracy that we believe has grown up over many years to be entrenched against the interests of the American people, the official said, noting that the administration worked closely with Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency to prepare the outline. We feel this is a joint project. The proposal calls for eliminating multiple diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, environmental justice efforts, and other woke programs, according to the OMB letter. Among the agencies and programs recommended for cuts are the National Park Service, Climate Science Research, Foreign Economic and Disaster Assistance, UN Peacekeepers, certain education funding to schools, the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, the National Institutes of Health, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and rental assistance. There are a lot of people that cannot afford their energy bills, so I wouldn't be surprised if you got some impoverished people burning up this summer and freezing to death in the winter. Overall, the discretionary budget would be $1.7 trillion, a 7.6% cut from the current fiscal year. The proposal does not make recommendations for so-called mandatory spending programs, including Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, commonly known as food stamps. And yeah, 47 weeks after Hegseth's birthday, who again was picked on the Superior General's birthday. And you would think the average person who comes around here and says that I'm shilling to keep the eyes off the small hats and falsely pinning things on the Jesuits. You would think these people at some point would be like, man, this is a lot of evidence that he provides every day to back up his points. Because it's not like they pick Hegseth on Netanyahu's birthday and this is synced up with some Netanyahu book. But it is all perfectly coordinated with the Jesuits who gave us the calendar and the language and, again, who got their man in the Oval Office right now, Jesuit-educated Donald Trump, etc., etc. One of these goofballs came in there, they're like, don't you know that Ignatius of Loyola was a Jew? And then I responded, no, he wasn't, but Diego Lainez was. Can you provide any proof? And then there's no proof because they all just say these empty rhetoric There's no proof that Ignatius of Loyola was a Jew. Okay, 0. Diego Lainez, though, the second superior general, was. Several Jews did convert to Catholicism, and they are part of the Jesuit order. There is a Jewish element, but we're talking about who runs the show. You guys want to falsely pin it on the people who don't, and you want to ignore the people who do. Like, this guy's not a Jew. Neither is Trump. Might be friends with him. But, no, it's the Jesuits who run the show. It's just like when the country was founded, there were no founders warning about the Jews overthrowing America. There were founders warning about the Jesuits, should they come out of suppression, could subvert the nation. And they clearly did. They clearly did. Again, and when was the first act of weather warfare admitted to? Remind me, was it on the Jesuit order's birthday? Oh, yeah, it was. August 15th, 1952. So here we go again. It's May 2nd, 52 date numerology. Texas and Oklahoma are flooding today. And this article is about how the massive cuts to weather forecasting and monitoring services by the Trump administration could lead to even deadlier outcomes for storms this year. And I was happy to see that where I live is one of the highlighted areas that's at risk, because apparently we don't have, our area was defunded. Anyway, here we are with the 52-date numerology. Again, on 5-2, Hurricane 52, Flood, Earth, Enlil 52. The date can also be written 2-5 like 25. The Guardian's got the story about how Trump officials got 25 senators that monitor flooding and drought. By the way, the word hurricane, the big way, is 97, the 25th prime. Probably going to get wild in 2025. We know everything with the 97 connection's been crazy this year, like plane crash. Plane crash 97. It's been out of control in 2025 in the news. They're saying the flooding threatens 113 million people between Texas and Oklahoma. But yeah, these are the base ciphers. Alphabetic order with numerology, reverse alphabetic order with numerology. You can see how Earth, Enlil, and Flood overlap. Almost perfect in every cipher. Remember, Genesis 8:3 is where the biblical flood ends. These numbers show up in flooding rituals all the time, hurricane rituals all the time. This article is largely focused on Harvey. Remember, before Harvey flooded, we told you when it was going to flood, and we also showed you how it was synced with the upcoming World Series. And again, the nice thing about that is it's one thing that I can still prove is true, because it's one of the only things still archived thanks to this article by Vice News about yours truly. Wacko YouTuber approves World Series was rigged. This is dated November 20th, 2017. Again, that year, we told you exactly when Harvey would flood on the 239th day of the year, the 52nd prime, August 27th, 17, a date with 52 numerology, the anniversary of Stevie Ray Vaughan dying, whose best-selling album was Texas Flood. And then we showed you how when Matt Harvey pitched in Houston after the flooding of Harvey, he did so 52 days before the World Series, and that told us it would be Astros over Dodgers. And again, the quote's right here of them making fun of me. The whole article's about me. The video comes courtesy of a guy named Zachary K. Hubbard. He's talking about that start about Matt Harvey coincidentally was 52 days before the start of the World Series. Again, there was nothing coincidental about it. And then the quote is, the reason that matters is because the word flood is Gematria equals 52. Houston flooded on a date with 52 numerology on August 27th, which is the 239th day of the year, which is the 52nd prime number. And it was 27 years to the day of the death of Stevie Ray Vaughan, who was remembered for the album Texas Flood. Think about it. And then they act like that's some stupid thing. And then they also make fun of how the game was closed out by Charlie Morton with his 50-second pitch. Acting like, oh, how could you script that? Easily, they do it every year. That's why they're always saying they couldn't have scripted it any better. So he closes out with, anyway, back to the main and unassailable point we started with, which is that the World Series was rigged because Charlie Morton threw 52 pitches. No, it was rigged way before that, because like practically every year leading up to that, I'd called the World Series in spring training. And we pretty much did it again that year. So, again, just totally disingenuous reporting. But the point is, I've been on about this 52 thing since forever. And that article's almost a decade old now. But yeah, here we are. Here we are on May 2nd, 2025. And this is how the media's got to report to you. And by the way, just for all the people who come around and always leave the comments like, Zach, how can you not get it yet that only God could do this? This is why you guys are. I think I'm just going to start claiming to be an atheist, even though I'm not. I'm so sick of the whole God thing. Military technology to play God. Couldn't I do this? I know what they do. I could have put out this story today. Oh, here's the perfect day to write about hurricane season 5-2. Look at me. I could have all these people convinced I'm God. Look at what I did today. I did a Hurricane 52 story. Only God could do this. Again, it's no secret that the typical God person, and again, I am someone who believes there is a creator or creators, a spiritual force, but most God people are pretty retarded. Let's be honest. That's why they think Trump was brought back by God. God saved his ear. Yeah, you got to be so dumb. The typical God person is a dummy. Dumber than rocks. Let's be honest. Let's really be honest. Again, if you take a group of atheists and a group of God people, I guarantee you that the atheist IQs are through the roof compared to the God people on average. In a way, they're dumb though too. They're claiming to be all about something that I think is actually a form of blindness too. To me, it seems quite obvious that there is a real spiritual force and there is a real, again, I don't know if it's a singular creator or creators. I can't tell you exactly what it is, and no man really can, but there's signs. There's things that happen in the world that are beyond coincidence. It's like they're guiding your path if your eyes are open, but I'd almost just rather not even talk about it because these God people are just so dumb. Yeah, God brought Trump back. Anyway. Yeah, all these red spots are supposedly the places where Trump's cuts now have no coverage for people that would warn about incoming weather threats. I'm in this central part of Washington State where the red is. We get windstorms out here. Anyway. Yeah, the article, if you read it, it goes into Harvey in a big way. So I thought that was funny. Harvey's one of the most 52 storms there ever was. And just for the record, that was the Astros 56 season. When you run it in reverse, Hurricanes 56. They won the World Series in their 56th season after Harvey flooded and the big 52 ritual. And Matt Harvey was the first pitcher to pitch in Houston 52 days before the start of the World Series. Okay. Yeah, just one more quick trip about the Trump executive order to defund NPR and PBS that he signed last night on the Illuminati's birthday. Again, both NPR and PBS have been running for 54 years. And Jesuit Order is 54, just like Bavaria, where the Illuminati was created. Again, the Illuminati is created by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. You can see how the Illuminati overlaps with Jesuit Order. It was the 322nd day at Trump's age that he did this. The founder of the Illuminati died on the 322nd day of the year. That's Adam Weishaupt. The Jesuit died November 18th, 1830. Again, NPR has been on air for 54 years and change, as has PBS. And Trump is cutting their federal funding through the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which was established on November 7th, the day leaving 54 days left in the year. And just for the record, since it's baseball season too, it's also the day that Roy Halladay died off the coast of Holiday, Florida. Baseball's got the double 54 connection in the base ciphers. Again, 162 like games in a season. And Halladay died off the coast of Halladay, and he died on November 7th, which can be written 117 like Major League Baseball. 2 years ago, we used the opening day Rangers score of 11-7 over the Phillies to project them to be the World Series winners at 50-1 odds, because they beat Philadelphia, the defending NL champions, 11-7, perfectly synced with George W. Bush, who used to run the Rangers. And, of course, that World Series, the 119th, ended 119 days after his birthday, the day he threw out the first pitch. And don't forget the year before we had Philly in the World Series in spring training, because it was the 118th, and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania's 118 land. And, of course, they were just at the White House, the Eagles, on the 118th day of the year, because these rituals just keep on going. And, again, that's just a few of many accomplishments. Last year we had Dodgers in spring training. Year before that, or it was 2 years before that, would have been the 117th World Series. We had the Braves in their newly renamed Truist Park to win the 117th World Series, especially after Hank Aaron died. On and on and on. 116th, we had Dodgers in spring training. Mookie Betts came over in the Jackie Robinson ritual in tribute to African American history in baseball. 116th goes to the Dodgers and the Mookie deal. Nationals won the 115th World Series, perfectly synced with Trump, who took office with the 115th Congress and hired the Rays announcer Steve Ray. Donald Trump 138, 159, 138 days after his birthday. The Nationals win the World Series with 159 pitches, etc., etc. So, 114th World Series helped Dennis win $350,000. He's already wealthy with multiple practices. Just nice, cool $350,000 extra in his pocket off parlaying the World Series to end exactly in Game 5. Boston over LA. Parlayed that with Brady beating the Rams in the Super Bowl. Parlayed that in July, way before the World Series, way before the football season even started. Hadn't even started the preseason, and we had the World Series and Super Bowl in a perfect ritual. Again, that was the 99th season. 99 days apart was Game 5 in the Super Bowl. New England 99. Remember, Los Angeles equals 53. Patriots equals 53. Boston Red Sox equals 53. That was the year of Super Bowl 53. Had it all mapped out in spades. And don't forget, Tom Brady was 41 that year, the Super Bowl number. It's part of why we also like Boston to win 4-1. I thought Chris Sale would get the win in that game. Instead, he closed it out. He was wearing number 41 for Boston. But yeah, scripted sports, scripted news, scripted weather, all scripted together. Hello, Hurricane Katrina, and then the Aints become the Saints, winning the first Super Bowl back in New Orleans after the flooding. So yeah, anyhow, shout out to Endgame Exposure. Greg Charles Popovich, 214, just stepped down. Yeah, I mean, he's been out of the picture for a minute. The reason they announced today that Popovich is done is because it's the 122nd day of the year. San Antonio 122. Remember, Duke came into March Madness tournament with a record of 122 and 41 in the tournament all the time. We said, oh, they're going to be playing in San Antonio. They lost in the Final Four to Houston. Remember, Duke equals 67. Duke got stuck on 67 points. Houston became plus 67 in point differential for the tournament, beating Duke. And then in the next game, they lost by 2 and became plus 65 versus Florida, who won with 65 points. And by the way, again, we had Florida to win the championship before the tournament began. It was all about the Trump and the Golden Age. Todd Golden gets his 133rd career win on 4-7. President 133-47, just like White House, like government. And don't forget what a Jesuit ritual it was either, because he might be Jewish, but he's Jesuit educated. It was 274 days after his birthday, Jesus Hominum Salvator, and he got Florida their 54th win in the tournament. Jesuit Order 54, like Sun. Catholic Church celebrate the Sun's birthday as Sol Invictus since 274 A.D. Bada bing, bada boom. All right. Let's see. I got about 10 more minutes. If you guys got anything to add for this stream, shout out to Dale, generous Dale. Thanks again, Dale, for all your generosity. Dale's very generous behind the scenes. I appreciate it. People like Dale. I am super grateful for. I'm going to open up the phone line here. I got about 10 minutes for calls, so if you want to call in with something buzzing, something to add on to what I covered, now is the time. Try to be efficient so we can at least get a few people in here. Again, if you have something to add on to any of these stories, or there's a buzzing story that I missed. Oh, by the way, just about those Jesuits. Again, a surprising 177,000 jobs. Again, just, it's all Jesuits, you guys. I mean, the Jesuit Order 177. New World Order 77. Jesuits pride themselves on being the driving force of globalization. The first use of the word propaganda, 177, is credited to the Catholic Church who the Jesuits serve. All right. The line is open. Time is a ticking. If you guys want to phone in, now is the time. If we don't have any callers, I can just wrap it up too. Yeah, I could have mentioned how on this 5-2 date, how President, White House, government authority, how they're all 52. the ultimate authority in our government is the military, this massive expenditure on 5-2. Yeah, I thought about making that point, but instead I thought I would just show how it's all just so clearly Jesuit. How about the people who always stop by in the comment section and say, "Oh, you're an Israeli shill, and it's the small hats, duh." I would love one of those calls right now. Let's see if we can get one of those callers before the crickets stop chirping. Oh, I hit the damn wrong button. Where's my crickets at? Here they are. All right. Where are the people who leave these comments all the time? Come on. The crickets are waiting. Eloy Garcia says GTA 6 moved their release date to May 26, 2026. Well, we know Rockstar Games is also part of this thing. So I got an observation on that. Rockstar, what is it? Is it Rockstar? Yeah, Rockstar Games, 201 like the Jesuit Order, 150 like Illuminati, 84 like the Jesuit Order, 51 like the Illuminati date. Society of Jesus Christ, that's the 146th day of the year. Let me see this Grand Theft Auto news. And let me actually go back to what I posted. I remember they used the Tom Petty song when they announced the game. Hold on. Grand Theft Auto. All right. Wow, God, that was already, wow. That was 2023? I'm telling you, man. Time is going way too fast. So they used Tom Petty's song, and it was exactly 322 weeks after he died. And don't forget how they took out Tom Petty by the number. And don't forget how they used Tom Petty's music for the World Series. God, they were playing his songs all throughout the World Series. I'm like, this is messed up, man. You never heard Tom Petty's music in the World Series. He's dead, and now they're just playing it all over the place. But yeah, again, just that Illuminati 322 connection. Yeah, just making the same point about how the founder of the Illuminati died on the 322nd day of the year. It looks like Grand Theft Auto 6 has the 74 and 191 like Society of Jesus, but 74 months and a couple days after his death, they put out the trailer. They're putting it out on the 26th. I just know when you spell out 6, that equals 26. Kind of like how Adam is made on the 6th day in the 26th verse. Adam is 26 like God. So it's coming out a year from now, huh? They did announce this news today, it looks like. I see. So they backed it up by over half a year. Okay. Here, let's just see. From today to, well, it must be a year plus 24 days. So what's that? 389 days? Span of 390? I don't know what to say about that number. Yeah, I don't know enough about the Grand Theft Auto history. I'm sure there's something more symbolic to it. I'm sure there's something more to it. I saw what they did with the initial trailer in Tom Petty, but other than the Jesus connection and the Society of Jesus being stamped into Rockstar Games. Wait, hold on. Did I just see? It did. Well, okay. 191 like Society of Jesus, right? 191 like Society of Jesus. 74 like Jesus and Jesus Christ. And it is coming out on the 146th day of the year, so looking pretty Jesus-y. They do this one day before the 151st Kentucky Derby. The song that they played for for the initial trailer was Tom Petty's "Love Is a Long Road." Doesn't look like that quite factors in. Okay. Let's see. Operation Maskell simulated. Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Pentagon Maskell's in my last book, Number Games. It was simulated on the day leaving 68 days left in the year as well. Again, just 911 made the national emergency dialing code in 68, and World Trade Center construction began. And don't forget, Pentagon construction began on September 11th, 1941, right before Pearl Harbor. But yeah, Pentagon Maskell was 322 days before 9/11. I am very aware, and I'm pretty sure there's a post on my website about Maskell too. Let's see, Pentagon Maskell right here. Boom. Yeah. Yeah. Maskell also 41, like Skull and Bones, like September 11th had 41 date numerology. From Bush's birthday, who graduated from Skull and Bones in 68 to September 11th, 68 days. CIA and terror both equal 68. Of course, the word would have a different gematria value if you spelled it out like the way Bush said it. How would you write that out? Terra. Terra. I know some girls named Tara. Oh, whoa. That's weird. That's weird. I never noticed that before. Tara. Maybe he was calling an ex. Maybe that's who he spent a lot of time with back in the frat days. Tara. Huh. Maybe it was an inside joke all along. We will fight the terror. Okay. Okay, I do got to wrap it up. I got to go get Sweet Girl, you guys. No callers today. Last call. If you wanted to call in and share something, last call. I'll hit until the crickets stop. Where's my crickets button? Wait, I was hoping some of those critics would call in. Yeah, what Jesuits? All right, it doesn't look like they're going to step up to the plate. Automatic forfeiture. Cowards live in the comments. All right, we'll leave it there for now. Again, thank you to everyone who hits the like and the share. Yeah, absolutely. Again, Boeing debuted their jumbo jetliners in 68. The founder of Boeing, Skull and Bones as well, went to Yale. And again, Seattle, Washington is 68 land. So many things out of Seattle are connected to 9/11. One of the main construction firms, Magnus and Klemenkic Associates, the Japanese-American who designed the towers, Boeing. Japan makes you think of kamikaze pilots, which should make you think of the story on 9/11. Even though those planes weren't real, they were digital, made for the TV screens. That's why the first one flew all the way through the building. Yeah, it's disappointing how many trolls live in the comments but just can't call in. You guys, I welcome the debate. I let my critics go on and on and on until it just gets too dumb. But you know who we need to debate? We need to debate some of these famous people on the YouTube stage, and I need to get a studio too because Andrew Wilson, debating him, what was revealed is how dumb he was, but. The problem is I also have Sweet Lady and my little girl next door, and I can't exactly use the kind of rhetoric I really want to use talking to these dummies. I might need to get a studio set up and figure out a way to debate these supposed YouTube champions like Jesuit Educated Destiny. Destiny is such a dope. Oh my God. These are the people I would love to debate and just mop the floor with as they talk about every fake news story like it's real. Let me just tear it apart in seconds. Show you how it was another Jesuit psyop by the same redundant number pattern. I see Dave in the chat did have an observation on the span of 390 days for Grand Theft Auto and where it comes back to that 312. Maybe. I'll have to look more. I know what Grand Theft Auto's basically about. You have the character and you go around and you create mayhem. You complete missions, you get money, you steal people's cars, you kill whoever you want. But maybe there's something about the storyline. I don't know where it's set. I haven't looked into anything about the game. I'm sure there is a greater reason why they bumped it to May 26th. But the Jesus connection is definitely part of it, no doubt about it. It is the Society of Jesus. What else are the pastors going to talk about if there's not a new Call of Duty game? Got to pay your indulgence. Were you playing that Grand Theft Auto evil work of the devil this week? Come put some money in my plate and you will be forgiven by Jesus. All right, Truth Seeker. Until next time.